on the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be with you, and I'm glad that you're with us today. Great to be here. It is Wednesday, November the 30th, and we're going to have a great show regardless of anything at all, even with the rain outside. We're still going to have a good show. We're going to have a good day. Thanks for being with us. We're happy to have you aboard. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM, and we're also on CKLU.ca. We're streaming. You just go to the website, CKLU.ca. You click on the Radio Player Canada logo. You load us up, and you can stream us and listen to us. Also, if you want to take us with you, you just download the Radio Player Canada app, and you can take us with you anytime, anywhere on your favorite device, and then there you have it. We are. You can take us with you. Also, all the great programming on CKLU, you can take that with you as well. The great thing about the internet is that we can go live streaming as we do video-wise on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. So we also have this show to be a community conversation. It's not just a news program. It is a news talk format. So you are just as much part of the show as we are. We just facilitate a conversation. We go through all the latest news stories in Sudbury, and we unpack them. We try and maybe give alternative perspectives to the stories, possibly ask some questions, see, does the news story cover everything? Is there stuff they might have left out? Things like that, and just have a conversation. And we've been having some pretty cool conversations since March of this year. And with that, good morning, Pam. Our comment section is working this morning, so we have those up on the screen. So thanks for doing that, and please continue to comment, each and every one of you, as this is your show. You are just as much part of it as I am. And also, feel free to like, share, subscribe, follow, all that stuff on all our social medias. We have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I just set up a TikTok account. I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything with that at all. Who knows in the future. If you hear a little bit of a background noise, that's because it's the rain on our roof. So it has that white noise kind of sound. So it is definitely raining. And good morning, David. Thanks for being with us this morning. And with that, we might as well just jump into stuff because there's lots of stuff to unpack today. Lots of news. And the Laurentian story continues to continue. and with that, the sub-story of that, the former CEO of Laurentian, who is now the CEO of HSN, continues to deliver, giving us, more content for the show. So yes, good morning, Brian. Happy to have you with us. Good morning, Shane. And also good morning, Stassi, or Joe. If you go Joe Stassi, I'll kind of go out on a limb and say your first name is Joe. So hard sometimes when people have aliases and things on social media. But anyways, we're going to do our best to get things right on the show. And with that, let's just start off with a little bit of weather. We'll be back right after this. Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Oh, it is Stacy Joe. Oh, cool. Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Currently, it's 3 degrees out there, and it's light rain, 97% humidity. Yeah, it's just weird weather. That's what you get this time of year. Today, so we can expect periods of rain changing to a few flurries near noon. Local blowing snow this afternoon. Lucky us. Rainfall in the amount of 10 to 15 centimeters, and then the wind will be from the south, 30 kilometers gusting to 50, then becoming west, 30 gusting to 60 this morning. Temperature falling to -4 this afternoon, but with the wind chill, it'll be about -11. Tonight, cloudy, 60% chance of flurries. I was about to say showers, but 60% chance of flurries, local blowing snow. The wind will be gusting up to 60, temperature steady near -4, wind chill near -13. That is tonight. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy, clearing near noon. Wind will be 30 kilometers, gusting to 50, becoming light in the afternoon. Temperature steady near -3. The wind chill will feel like -13, however, in the morning and -5 in the afternoon. If you want to look at the satellite, our long-range forecast, or 7-day forecast, tomorrow they're anticipating some clearing with -3. Also Friday, cloudy, +2. Saturday, chance of showers, 60% chance of showers, high of +5. Sunday, cloudy, -3. Monday, chance of flurries, -2, 60%. Not good weather if you like anything that's consistent. We're going from rain to snow today, then back to snow tonight, and then showers on Saturday, they're predicting. So pretty crazy. And oh my goodness, Len from the Philippines chiming in saying good morning. Good morning, Lem. Thanks for being with us. Wow, the Philippines, that's pretty incredible. I bet your weather is a little warmer than what I just predicted here in Sudbury. I'd much prefer to be in the Philippines other than during a typhoon, let's say, or any other tumultuous weather like that. But we got to deal with this on a consistent seasonal basis with all the rain and freezing rain. The driving conditions are pretty treacherous. Anyways, so that's a look at your satellite. If you're on the radio and you're just wondering what it looks like, it's the pretty much consistent, very cloudy northern Ontario with a lot of activity right around the core of the Great Lakes. So you have, anywhere from Wawa down to mid-Michigan, right over to Sudbury, North Bay area, down to about Parry Sound, almost to Barrie. A lot of activity going on there. So, just be prepared for almost anything these days, because almost anything can happen in terms of weather. So we'll be back with the weather, maybe a little bit of sports right after this. All right, and the Sudbury Wolves will be in action very soon. So just got to get the sports thing up here. Here you go. No, I don't need to join the Wolves Insider, as I am already a Wolves Insider. Here you go. Triple header week this week. So tonight, the Wolves take on Barrie. Then on December the 2nd, which is Friday night, the Wolves will be in action against Owen Sound. And then let's just make this a little bit bigger for y'all and myself. There we go. That's what I like to see. So then on Sunday, they take on looks like the Mississauga Ice Dogs. And that's this Sunday, 2:05. So tonight, Barrie, who just beat the Ottawa 67s, by the way, 5-0, something like that. Then the Wolves played Ottawa and lost right after that. Then they're in action against Owen Sound, December the 2nd, which is Friday, 7:05. And then again, Sunday against the Niagara Ice Dogs. I might have said Mississauga Ice Dogs. Sorry about that. So Niagara Ice Dogs, The games will all be broadcast on CKLU 96.7 FM. You can catch them right here. So stay tuned for those. And David Bowen, who's the son of the legendary Joe Bowen, who does the Toronto Maple Leafs radio broadcast, who got his start. Basically, he's from Coniston. He did the Sudbury Wolves when he first started, and now his son, following in his footsteps, David Bowen, will have the call for those games. We appreciate him, the newest member of the Sudbury Wolves broadcast team, so stay tuned for those games right here on CKLU 96.7 FM, triple header week and weekend. So we'll be back with more right after this. Headlines, we're going to unpack them. There's lots to talk about. There's a couple videos I want to show, and we're going to do a deep dive today. So we'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back, and we are going to have a great show today. There's lots to unpack in terms of headlines in our great city. Coming to you from our Sudbury News Facebook page, just basically the page is used to share the stories we're going to be talking about on the show, but also they're kind of like, some of the top things that are worth unpacking and discussing. If you want a consistent, concise amount of local news, you got to visit Sudbury.news, where on our main page it's an aggregator of all the local news. You can catch that, each and every day. It's constantly updating as news comes out. It populates the page, and so you can see, all of the Sudbury news basically on Sudbury News Facebook page. We're just basically sharing the stories we're going to be talking about or trying to get to on this show between 7:30 and 8:30 each morning live. So fire alarms are a problem for the Greater Sudbury Police Service. There's a quick video from CTV that covers that. I want to get to that. Also, the Living Nativity will return to Science North from December 21st to the 24th. So if you want to get out and be able to bring your family to see that, it's live, right? So there's live people. It's going through the nativity. It's not just some plastic statues that are lit up or whatever. So that's pretty exciting. Live animals as well. And I don't think it's been going since COVID. So I think it's the first year back. Bit of a video here. Someone captured a coyote walking down a main street in Sudbury, a residential area. Just kind of neat. There's some good comments from people on that as well I wanted to talk about. Also, the documents that were held back from the public between the government and Laurentian University have been released, and they've been held back because they weren't deemed to be for the public before insolvency was finished. And so now that it's done and they're out of that, they released the documents, and now we have some people chiming in on what they think about that, and we'll get to that. Siberian tapped to be the lead on the international kickboxing team. Don Culligan of the Sudbury Kickboxing Academy was selected to lead a contingent of 20 kickboxers for Canada in international competition. So that's pretty darn awesome. That should have been part of our sports segment, actually. And here's where we're going to unpack today. Constituents concerned about the leadership at HSN, the former president of Laurentian University, who still has no comment to do with anything of what happened at Laurentian University. Oh, Karen Shields knows her. Ever cool. That's awesome. And David says Sudbury Wolves versus North Bay Battalion. That is tonight, 7:05. That is correct. I must have said something else. I do that a lot of times. So thanks for clarifying that, David. The constituents concerned about hospital leadership, Jelena says, Fernand Jelena, the leader, our Sudbury MPP, Nickel Belt MPP for the NDP party, While several officials refuse to comment, Nickel Belt MPP and NDP health critic has chimed in on the situation with what some of her constituents are saying about the whole debacle. So I'm really interested in unpacking that one. And the court strikes down the wage limiting law for public sector workers. An Ontario court has struck down the bill that limited wages for public sector workers. And apparently the Conservative Party, Doug Ford, sorry, that was a slip. Doug Ford will appeal that. So stay tuned for more of that. And then later in our deep dive today, we want to unpack something that we are a new law that's coming forward in Canada that makes it extremely easy to perform doctor-assisted suicides. And some of the facts coming out about that should frighten you. So if it doesn't, that's okay. It frightens me of what we're going to be looking forward to in terms of that new legislation. Sudbury food banks see an increase in users. A report indicates that the food bank usage is on the rise in Ontario. While we would have known that anyways with inflation going up, and even without inflation, the food bank usage has been going up consistently over the years. And so with that, our first story of the day, this is an interesting one. The police are constantly responding to to calls that aren't really calls. And so how's that going to affect them and us? So CTV did a really cool story on that.
What the heck?
Nope, that's the wrong story. That was the coyote. Here you go.
Thanks for that, Mike. A new report says over 90% of the times that police officers in Sudbury head out to answer a security alarm going off, it turns out to be nothing. Now they are working with local security firms to use some new technology to try to help reduce the false alarm numbers and better allocate police resources. More from CTV's Ashley Bacon.
Theft, break-and-enters, and other criminal activity occurs all the time. But in 2021, the Greater Sudbury Police spent over 1,100 hours investigating what turned out to be false alarms. However, security companies say technology has changed so much in the last few years that there should be far fewer of those calls.
The newer systems that are out there, even the motion detectors have a video component built in. So that you can turn around and you can actually just verify right there whether it is somebody who's actually entered or it's just a cat knocking something off the shelf.
And although the new technology is promising when it comes to call reduction, Peg Nudie says he understands the frustration officers must feel responding to so many false alarms.
It is very, very time consuming for the officers to be coming out if it is a false alarm, which is where having them verified is kind of good for everybody. It gives you the opportunity to check and make sure, right? And it just saves a lot of the resources.
However, in 2001, police started charging companies a fee through a bylaw for responding to calls that turned out to be false alarms. However, officers say it didn't make much of a difference.
The imposition of fees did cause some deterrence and provided some cost recovery. However, once again, there was very little change in the number of false alarms.
Staff Sergeant Care says the next step is to have security companies verify the issue before sending police to investigate, rather than having officers be the ones to confirm it's a false alarm.
Alarms have been verified by either audio, video, eyewitnesses on scene, or at least 2 different sensors.
Police say they handed out over $27,000 in fines for false alarms last year. They hope that deterrent, plus the new technology, can improve the situation. Ashley Bacon, CTV News, Sudbury.
Yeah, false alarms. I remember I worked for a security company and covered for the owner on the weekends. Basically had a pager, and every time the alarms would go off, because we monitored several businesses and residences. And I can't tell you the amount of times we had false calls. I don't know. There might have been one out of the almost 2 years that I was doing this each and every weekend that was a legitimate call. We also had the contract for a lot of the schools, and it never failed. Every night there was one school that the alarm went off, and I had to get up out of bed and go to the school, go in by myself. There could have been somebody dangerous there. But anyways, I walked in by myself and had to assess the situation. And 99.999% of the time, like I said, it was a piece of paper that fell off. A lot of schools will have posters and things all over the place. A piece of paper just fell off. Or you couldn't really tell what happened. It was just the alarm went off. Anyways, well, I had to write up a thing that I was there. And we charged the schools, I think about $100 or something, for my call to come out. So it's costly for a lot of people, and definitely police, we're paid from our tax dollars, and it's great to have security. But that's pretty interesting, the fact that most of the calls are false. Now we have somebody that did, in fact, have a reason for if they would have had security, it might have been good because Stacy's sister just had a break-in. A person looking for food. Interesting. Yeah, that goes in with our story with food banks and basically the need that's, there's a huge need for that now more than ever. And we'll see that increase in crime as well as as our society begins to unravel and things seem to fall apart, which is what we're witnessing, is our society basically coming to that point. Now here's a video, seeing a coyote in the city. I don't know. I think this is kind of common, right? I think a lot of us
She's big. I've never seen her.
Living in Northern Ontario have seen similar things. Bears, coyotes, foxes, raccoons for sure, porcupines, skunks. We're surrounded by bush, right? So I think this was in New Sudbury, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, exactly. So back to the other story, they didn't take anything of value, the people that broke in, but they were just hungry, exactly. So yeah, we'll see more and more things like that. And we'll see, speaking of hungry, that's a reason why this coyote was roaming around just looking for food. Bears, same thing, right? But it's interesting living in the city where we see a lot of nature just in the city. If of all places, if you go to the dump, I know in Hanmer, you go to the dump and you'll see a couple bald eagles there just perched up all majestically overlooking, the crows and the seagulls kind of thing. It's kind of neat. Like you do see a lot of cool things like that just living in the city. However, you do need to take precaution. Just like this person commented, Andrew said he's just looking for lunch. So adults, keep your eyes on your pets and your children, which is definitely true. Funny meme there. So Carol says they have wolves, foxes, and coyotes. It isn't unusual as we are surrounded by forest. That's exactly right, for sure. So now, Sudbury.com did a really good job. Let's see here, on covering the top stories of the day that we want to get to here. Yeah, I thought I had it. Yeah, there it is here. So, the documents that were kept secret during Laurentian's CCAA finally unveiled. So the public finally getting a look at letters exchanged between Laurentian University and the Ministry of Colleges and Universities from January 2021. In the days leading up to when LU declared insolvency and filed for creditor protection under the Companies Creditor Arrangement Act, or the CCAA, these documents referred to as confidential, Exhibit EEE and Exhibit FFF, whatever. So the story then later gets into, as a side note, Robert Hache, who was the president of Laurentian at the time, and Romano, who was in cabinet, over colleges and universities are no longer there anymore, but there was some back and forth going on between them. Some of what is outlined in the documents has already been revealed by the Ontario Auditor General's report regarding Laurentian University's financial demands on the province. But it's interesting to note that Hachet's letter speaks about plans for massive staff and program cuts at Laurentian months before they actually happened in April. For example, he said that obligations for termination and severance pay, which were calculated to be approximately $48 million under the terms of the collective agreement, where 100 full-time faculty are terminated, cannot be assumed by Laurentian University, given its insolvency and inability to meet existing obligations. This has drawn ire from Laurentian University Faculty Association, who put out a press release upon the release of the sealed documents a couple days ago. Quote, "These documents are shocking in the detail they provide about Laurentian's secret, long-standing plans to gut the university by terminating over 100 faculty and slashing dozens of programs." The president says, Fabrice Collin, in the press release. Further, this correspondence reveals the Ford government knew the university was in financial difficulties and planning cuts at least 6 months before the CCAA was triggered. This raises serious concerns about why this government didn't do more. Now, that's coming from a union leader, which is normal because unions and governments are supposed to, they're on different sides of the table, right? Hachet's letter also includes a timeline of interactions between Laurentian and the Ministry of Colleges and Universities and shows there was a meeting between LU officials and Romano about the possibility of the CCAA filing in August 4th of 2020. The January 21 letter from Romano references a $100 million ask by Laurentian to address its financial problems. So the union leader of faculty is saying, why didn't the government do more at this point? So they're finding out that the Laurentian already decided to go into insolvency and claim bankruptcy, but now they're asking for $100 million from the government. So I don't know if the union leader is saying, well, the government should have just gave them what they asked for, which I don't know would necessarily have been the right decision. They already made all these decisions to go bankrupt, and they're just basically bail us out or we're going to go bankrupt is what the gun to the head was here. So I don't know if the union leader would be able to just kind of admit that side and instead of possibly playing a little bit of politics here and blaming the government for that, because that's what it was, a gun to the head. We're going bankrupt, or give us $100 million so we can't or won't. Even though we already made many, 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 many steps towards bankruptcy, and that was our plan. So I don't know how it could be on the government's, and other than the fact that their regulations allowed it to happen, which now they're going to create a bill so that way it won't happen in the future. The politician speaks about appointing a special advisor to provide advice and recommendations to the Minister of Colleges and Universities with respect to the current financial state of Laurentian University. He said, quote, "In recognition of the immediate cash flow challenges facing Laurentian University, the ministry had approved a grant of up to $12 million for the period ending March 31st, 2021. Approximately $6.1 million of a grant is proposed to be flowed upon signing of the agreement," said Romano's letter. "A further amount of $5.9 million will be released as further due diligence on the financial situation is undertaken." So basically, they're basically just trying to keep it afloat. We'll give you the money you need to keep things afloat, but we can't do any more than that, or else it's a bailout, and it's going to be seen as, you totally dropped the ball financially, and now we're going to just give you the money for your poor financial decisions. Okay. That leads us to our next story in Franz Jelena asking for more accountability because her constituents basically. So the headline from Sudbury.com is constituents concerned about hospital's leadership, Jelena says. So Dominic Giroux, who was the LU president at the time making a lot of these decisions, or at least at the helm, allowing the decisions and going on people's advice, very poor advice as we look back, incompetent as the Auditor General says. Okay, so back to the story here. Karen says that happened to her uncle, talking about break-ins, possibly back to that story. In the 70s in Newfoundland, by the time the police got there, my aunt tossed my cousin out a bedroom window to go to the neighbors, and my uncle had fed the guy breakfast. No charges, because her uncle acted like nothing was wrong. Is that ever cool? I only want to say only in Newfoundland could that happen, but that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Franz Jelena. Yes, for sure. So here we got, while several officials refused to comment, Nickelbelt MPP and NDP health critic has a backlog of messages from constituents concerned about Dominic Giroux's position as head of Sudbury's hospital, given the scathing report of his leadership from Auditor General Bonnie Lysyk. Now, so not too many people speaking out. So I wonder if Sudbury's Vivian Lapointe MP is receiving calls, or Sudbury's MPP, or Jamie West, or Mark Sade, who's Sudbury Nickelbelt MP. Are they receiving a backlog of messages too, or are they only going to Franz Jelena? And they could only be going there because she is the health critic, possibly. So I could give her that, or give the situation that. At least here's a nice picture of Dominic here. If you don't know what he looks like, this is a nice picture of him. If you're watching, if you're listening on the radio, just you can imagine Dominic Giroux as we're talking about this. When it comes to Dominic Giroux, some are critical. Some are complimentary and may just don't want to talk about it, may not just want to talk about it. In the wake of a highly critical report from Ontario General's, the report of Giroux's leadership of Laurentian University, Sudbury.com reached out to several people and organizations to see if, given the Auditor General's findings, there were any concern about Giroux being the CEO and president of Northern Ontario's largest hospital, Health Sciences North. Giroux was president of and vice chancellor of Laurentian University from 2009 to 2017, when he left to take over for the hospital. In the wake of the university filing CCAA on February 1st, 2021, the Public Accounts Committee of the Ontario Legislature requested a value for money audit from Laurentian by Lysyk over the 10-year period of 2010 to 20, which covers most of Giroux's tenure at the university. So in the scathing report, Lysyk laid much of the blame of the university deterioration at the feet of senior administration, namely Giroux. Although he was not named in the prelim report and repeated the statement in her full 117-page special report on Laurentian, which was released this month. So yeah, if you wanted to read the full report, you just click on the story, Sudbury.com. They have the link there. You could read the whole report from the Ontario Auditor General. A press release was issued alongside the report, stated Laurentian's over-dependence on external legal and financial advisors led to the unsuitable and damaging choice to seek creditor protection using the legal process designed for private sector entities. So they found the loophole, as we talked about yesterday. They found a loophole in the legislation and decided to go headlong into it and claim the bankruptcy that was made mainly for for-profit corporations, not for publicly funded institutions. Although Laurentian's operations were impacted by several external factors, the main cause of its financial decline from 2010 to 2020 was its poorly planned and costly capital expansion and modernization, said Lysyk in her report. As the university began to amass more than $87 million in debt to pay for this capital expansion, the senior administration exacerbated the situation by making a series of questionable financial and operational decisions, including amending its internal policies to allow it to incur even more debt and increasing its senior administration costs. So they again hired millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of senior administration, even knowing they were going bankrupt, with titles that were very ambiguous, that didn't really have job descriptions that were clear, and they basically changed policies, amended them in order to do the hiring for these people to just spend money on senior administration, which further tanked the university. Oh, could you talk about incompetence or what? That is terrible. So the poor management of Laurentian's financial affairs and operations was allowed to continue because of a weak board governance and ministry oversight. So the Auditor General saying, yeah, ministry oversight was a factor in this as well. Okay. The HSN board has full confidence in the leadership and CEO, which was a statement from the board of HSN. When Dominic Giroux took over 5 years ago, HSN was incurring a deficit of $1 million per month. And so with his leadership, it's now not in a deficit anymore. All right. So a 20-year capital master plan was developed and endorsed by Ontario Health. Our foundations are working closer together than ever before, and has already raised $19 million for the local share of phase 1 of our capital redevelopment. We succeeded in securing support from all acute hospitals in the Northeast to implement a regional electronic medical record by 2024. So a lot of praising here. Okay. I'm getting to some of the people's concerns here. I'm looking through the story, but it's just a lot of, I don't know, if someone was to read this, it would take them quite a long time. The Ontario Health Coalition, an organization that promotes and defends public health care in Ontario, said it was not familiar enough with the situation to respond. So no comment from there. And that's where Dominic Giroux sits as chair. I just spoke with the executive director, Natalie Mara, and she doesn't know enough about the situation to comment on it. Sorry about that. The administration and operations manager of the OCC said, "Thank you again for reaching out to us." About the only person that contacted Sudbury.com and willing to provide any sort of opinion was Nickel Belt MPP France Jelena, who is also the party's health critic at Queen's Park, saying she spoke on behalf of herself and Sudbury MPP Jamie West. Jelena said many of her constituents have reached out to express anger for what they see as Giroux culpability for Laurentian's decline and concern for what his leadership will mean for Northern Ontario's largest hospital, HSN. Both MPP Jamie West and I had many angry people reach out to us. Many people are angry with Mr. Giroux. And Jelena added that she and West received a ton of comments. I can confirm that a lot of people are not only angry with what happened at Laurentian, but are also worried that the same person who, as the Auditor General put, clearly made some decisions that led to the disaster is still in decision-making position, still in a decision-making position. And that makes them really worried. Some of them are really angry, and a lot of them want revenge, she said. Jelena added she has also heard from several hospital workers and healthcare professionals in recent days, and they too are concerned about the hospital with Giroux at the helm. Even though there was a memo that went out from the faculty leaders, basically, I think it was the union. We read it yesterday on the show. That's how short my memory is. Saying to the employees not to worry. Dominic Giroux is the man. He's the man that we're going to put full confidence in and has done a great, great job. But according to Jelena, a lot of the employees are concerned. I mean, the people of HSN tell me, like, you can't identify me. I'll lose my job if you do that, Jelena said. And I fully respect that, and I can tell you that it was instantly really intense, and it's still like a daily occurrence. I just hung up the phone with physicians from Health Sciences North, and I know that I'll have more tomorrow, she said. Jelena added that she had not yet cleared a backlog of messages. So she basically just started going through her messages, and these are a few of them. And she's going to get back to Sudbury.com with more of the people that have been contacting her. Many of them are employees of HSN that are concerned and say they're also concerned to reveal their identity because they're concerned about losing their jobs if their identity is revealed, that they're showing that they don't really have confidence in the leadership of Dominic Giroux. I'm sure as soon as I'm on Facebook Messenger, I will still have many messages of people who are angry, who are worried, and who want to make sure our hospital won't be in trouble. So more to come from that tomorrow and in the days to come, obviously. And speaking of the hospital and speaking of, confidence in Dominic Giroux, there's new laws coming forward that should basically scare us and also make us really worried. Speaking of being worried, the person who's at the helm of the hospital, and then new legislation that's coming forward that's going to make it even easier for hospitals to perform doctor-assisted suicides. But I want to get to some comments here while we have time, and we'll get right into that as our deep dive today. Good morning, folks. Please have a thought for a miner's family who's lost their loved one at Alamos Gold Mine in Matachewan. Thoughts and prayers to the entire community. Yes, thank you very much, Jerome, for that. Thoughts and prayers to the family. Very sad. That's the first I'm hearing of that, so thanks for letting us know. So why didn't Jelena support integrated medicine? All our eggs are in one pharmaceutical basket. That is true. With his leadership, he laid off many nurses. Maybe that's one reason why we have staff shortages, was Miles Shields chiming in. Stacy, yikes. He is the man, for sure. Too late. Wait times and staff shortages, it's been in trouble for a while. That is true. Hospital problems in general have been going on longer than Dominic Giroux has been the head of HSN. And it's not just at HSN. It's our healthcare system, period. It's got a lot of cracks, leaks, a lot of Band-Aids on it, and short-term solutions. It hasn't been doing well for a long time. And then COVID hit, and then I think that just revealed a lot of the cracks and problems that we had in our healthcare system, and then continues to get worse today. But I don't know if Dominic Giroux makes it any better, according to the way a lot of people feel about his leadership. Oh boy. Aid before made, please. Okay, yes, you are familiar with that. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. So here's a piece the Sudbury Star did about a company called Simons. They're a clothing company, and there's been a few stories coming forward of people, going down this route of doctor-assisted suicide. It's controversial. It's not black and white. But anyways, so there was an ad put out by this company, and the CEO is basically explaining why they did this ad in favor of doctor-assisted suicide.
Involved in the creative teams at Simons. It's been an honor and a pleasure and a challenge, and it's allowed me to be involved in a new project that has really pushed us to our limits, and I felt the need to talk to you about it today, to explain why we did this project, because it is very different from what we've done in the past. The essence of the project really is born in the roots of who we are. Since our founding in 1840, people have been at the heart and soul of Simons. We all know that over the past 2 years, we've been through some very difficult moments that have been challenging for each and every one of us in unique ways. And I think we felt that it was perhaps hard to reconnect with a hope and an optimism, and we wanted to do something that really underlined human connection and perhaps would help people to reconnect to each other and to this hope and optimism that is going to be needed if we're going to build the sort of communities and spaces where we want to live and that are.
Yeah, so he's basically saying he wants to build community by doing public relations pieces about the positive effects of medical assisted suicide or death. And so they did this this video. It's very serene. It's very surreal.
Dying in a hospital is not what's natural. That's not what's soft. In these kind of moments, you need softness. It can take dying to figure out what living is actually like.
So I'm just going to stop it there because it goes on for like 3 minutes promoting medical assisted death. And yeah, so you can just picture it, makes dying feel, hey, I want to die too if it's that cool. So that's basically like, and then you have the CEO of Simons saying in order to, connect with his employees and build community and everything, he feels that doctor-assisted death or medical-assisted death is the way to go in order to build our society in a more positive way. So that's his angle, and he's entitled to that. But basically, since its release October 24th, the film's English language version has accumulated 1 million views on YouTube, and in recent days has attracted widespread criticism from its glitzy corporate endorsement of Canada's rapidly expanding MAID regime. So it's getting some criticism in the United States mainly. Canada, we don't really, it takes a while for us to get motivated to kind of respond to things. That's the Canadian way. But yeah, so you have doctors. So MAID rates have been particularly high in Vancouver Island, so different parts of the country. In 2021, 10,064 Canadians died by MAID, a 32.4% increase over the previous year's 7,603. And that in turn was 34.3% increase from the 5,661 Canadians who died by MAID in 2019. So 2021, we're over the 10,000 Canadian mark of people dying in this fashion. To me, it sounds a bit scary. And we got a ton of comments, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to them with just trying to get through this. So basically, everyone, if you want to just read the comments at this point. This is the point I wanted to make was at the same time, there's been a reliable stream of controversial cases in which Canadians have either sought or been offered MAID on issues for which non-lethal treatment was feasible. This included at least 5 Canadian combat veterans, which I'm thinking what Brian wanted to come on the show. But Brian, we don't have enough time, unfortunately, for that. Just we're closing out. We have 3 minutes left. So there's been other treatments that have been there, but there's been 5 Canadians that have gone through this and now are no longer with us. And they were offered MAID by Veterans Affairs caseworker after seeking help for issues ranging from depression to PTSD. So speaking of the United States chiming in on this, I found Tucker Carlson, who I said his name on this show, who's an amazing journalist in the United States who is basically demonized by certain factors who don't want certain information getting out there, but he covers this very well. And he's in the United States, but he's covering it for Canadians, basically. So we'll be back right after his coverage.
So Margaret Marcilla is a mother who lives outside Toronto, Canada. She's got a 23-year-old son who suffers from depression and diabetes. Also, he doesn't have a girlfriend. On that basis alone, doctors have just approved her son's assisted suicide. A doctor called Joshua Tepper signed off on it to kill the boy because he's sad and doesn't have a girlfriend. We know this because of the Substack Common Sense. You can read the details, and you should. They're shocking. This is about to become a lot more common in Canada as a way of cutting down on healthcare costs. By March, a new law in Canada is expected to allow children to be killed by doctors, by state doctors, without the approval of their parents. This seems like a very big change in Western civilization. Charles Camasey is a professor at Creighton School of Medicine. He's the author of Losing Our Dignity. He joins us tonight. I sure appreciate your coming on to assess this. We've had this conversation multiple times, and each time we do, we reach a new and more terrifying low. Doctors killing kids without telling their parents because the kids are depressed?
Let's see if I have the laundry list right, Tucker, at this point. We've got kids now, or what they call mature minors. We've got the homeless, we talked about that last time, the poor, the disabled, those with chronic pain. And then right before coming on, I researched the physicians group in Quebec that wants to kill newborn infants. That's what's coming next. The Toronto Star, Tucker, a very liberal paper in Canada, called this Hunger Games social Darwinism. This is what happens, Tucker, when autonomy just goes nuts.
I mean, you hate to, I really try never to invoke the Nazis because, for many reasons. But they are famous for doing this exact thing. Use doctors to murder the weakest in your society. And I thought that doctors kind of agreed after the Second World War not to do things like this.
Yeah, you would think. And I'm the same way. I think we should be very, very hesitant to use those arguments. But at a certain point, Tucker, if the shoe fits, Canada has to wear it. Now, the question is, can we stop this from coming to the United States? It hasn't got here yet, and I think we can. For instance, New York, Connecticut, even deep blue states like that have not legalized even assisted suicide yet. And so what we need to do, Tucker, and all your listeners need to do this, is support in whatever way you can healthcare that is about caring, not killing. In fact, there's a coalition of people. There's a coalition of people coming up with a brand new medical school, the Padre Pio School of Medicine in 2026, that is going to do this very clearly, very ably. And if others would like to join a coalition of people who are doing this, I urge them to send me a message through my website, charlescamosi.com, or through Twitter, because we have to get off the couch and do something about this for those of us that see the writing on the wall here.
Shouldn't the American Medical Association weigh in and just say unequivocally, doctors in the United States don't get to kill children just because children are depressed? A doctor's job is to help people, make them better, not to kill them, give up on them when they're kids.
Well, as I wrote at length in Losing Our Dignity, Tucker, we have a very, very different healthcare system than we had even 20 or 30 years ago. It is hyper secularized. It is often based on cost-benefit analyses, even something called quality-adjusted life years, which is basically ableism. We've had a lot of talk about ableism over the last couple of days. This is ableism right here. And it's no accident that the disability rights groups are our biggest allies in this. We should continue to employ them as, again, we get up off the couch here and fight.
So yeah, got to leave it at that, everybody. We're out of time. Let's continue this conversation tomorrow, because it definitely needs to be continued. So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU. Thanks for being with us, everybody. I know I went on a deep dive and we should have had a little bit more time, but unfortunately we are out of time. But let's pick it up tomorrow. So we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for commenting. And have a safe, as there is some crazy weather out there, have a safe Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.